Hi, everyone. Welcome to Bench to Bold. I'm Marnie.
And I'm Alisa.
And we have a great show today. We're going to talk about breaking barriers. All right. Sometimes I want to just break things, actually, but I don't. I have enough discipline not to. But breaking barriers. Breaking barriers. And as a woman, what does that mean? Like, I've heard that term. We know I think we know what it means, but how do we actually live that? How do we break barriers? What are we doing to break barriers? What are we doing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you and I both have had, those backgrounds where we've grown up, and you in the athlete world, with the NFL, and me in corporate America, healthcare executive, run majority by men. And having to navigate our way through me walking into a boardroom with 10 men and myself and trying to, make a stance or make my voice heard. It was hard.
It's hard.
And being a decade, 10 years younger than most of the men sitting at the table made it really hard.
I think for me, I became decent at understanding women and friendships in a way that might sound a little circuitous. So in the 80s, I had left this very sweet all-girls school, and my parents put me into a school that had newly become co-ed. All right. So on theory, that sounds great. You're one of the few girls and there's all these boys and whatever. And ultimately it was great because I have tons of great friends from there. But so what I learned was being in that environment. So it's, seventh grade and you're the new girl and there aren't too many girls and you're with all these boys. And what I think that it really taught me was how to be okay in that room. And so I'm very grateful for that experience, but also that making friendships with women is really going to get you through the times when the boys are being unruly and you don't know what to do. And you definitely know they don't speak your language. So you have to find the girl in the room and be like, wait, we speak the same language. We might not agree on many things, but we definitely can speak the same language. So let's huddle up and be friends. And I think that was something that helped me. I didn't really have an environment of work, although I worked in, at the NFL Films and I worked at the William Morris Agency, and those were definitely more male dominated fields, but not in traditional corporate America like you were doing, which is hard.
And it's hard. And in healthcare, 30 years ago when I started out my career in healthcare, there weren't a lot of women as physicians, so I had to figure out when I walked into an office, because I was in medical sales, lab sales. I've been in various positions in healthcare, but my whole career was healthcare. But when I walked into an office, I had to figure out, okay, how am I going to fit in this office with a male dominant office, whether it be one physician or there was one office, I may have had 12 physicians if it were OBGYN practice. And I had to kind of learn how to create my own lane. And when I walk in, how I'm going to have people want to speak to me, right? Because I need to sell these people things. They're paying my making my paycheck here. So how am I going to befriend them? And it was, there was some thought that I had to, it was a thought process. I had to sit in my car and think about, okay, what can I do today when I go into this office of 12 men or even one man as a physician who, I need to speak to? How am I going to do that? Navigate that?
It reminds me of one of my favorite movies, is a movie called Almost Famous. And it was directed and written by Cameron Crowe. And what I love about this movie is it takes you kind of on this journey through this fictitious rock band in the 70s. And there's a line in the movie, there's many great lines in the movie, but one of the lines is the band is having a band meeting and they're becoming rock stars. They're on the edge of becoming massive rock stars. And one of the guys in the movie, in the band, he says, I go out there every night and I find the one guy that's not interested or not connecting. And I spend the entire time performing so that that guy becomes a fan. And so it's kind of like what you're doing is you go out there and you have to figure out, how am I going to make this person be a fan? It's really what I want for our show too. I want people that are going to be like, ugh, two women podcast, whatever, all the typical stuff.
Just like, another podcast.
Why would I listen? Like, what do they have to bring to the table? And we're going to connect. We're going to make them be fans. Like, they're going to have no choice. They're going to love it. They're going to want to listen. They're going to become our friends. They're going to be fascinated by what we're sharing. We're going to bring interesting guests. We're going to break down our own barriers and get a little emotional at times and be able to open up with our audience about what really we believe is valuable and relevant in this day and age about being moms and women in the community. And so we're going to—
Or navigating corporate America, because you still have to do that. And, since COVID, I feel like it's maybe harder to navigate corporate America. There's so many things that have happened since COVID in the workplace that it's hard for people to navigate. But yeah, figuring out how to win people over in
a genuine way.
In a genuine way. I would go to extreme. And one way that I won a physician over up in North Carolina up at Lake Norman, I'll never forget this, in an OBGYN practice, was bringing this gentleman Chick-fil-A nuggets. And literally, I watched him eat 30 one day. 30 Chick-fil-A nuggets. I said to him, how in the hell are you going to go see patients after lunch with eating 30 Chick-fil-A nuggets and drinking soda? How are you going to do that? Maybe being an OBGYN, I don't know. You're looking at different things, but I mean, thank God I wasn't his patient after that. 30 chicken nuggets. But yeah, so you had to, I had to really, think outside the box, if you will, of how I'm going to, get people to let me in their office and back past the check-in lady to speak to them. So I went about it various ways.
But I think that that's how people that are successful, if it's done in a genuine way, then I think you want to try to find a way to connect with the person that you're selling, your business partner, somebody that you're doing business with, your audience. Because it's always about, I lived and worked in Hollywood. And one of the things that was always that no matter what you're doing, whatever it is, whether it's music, whether it's movies, television, performing, live entertainment, you need to know who your audience is. And if you know who your audience is, then you can definitely work with that. And then how do you connect with them? How do you make them want to, be involved, be engaged, come back next week, talk about your show, talk about you as a performer. We're not performers. We're giving real life advice, but I think that we still have an audience and we want to captivate that and find ways to make it interesting and fun. And I still want to learn things too.
So one of these things I thought about was, what are some mindset shifts to thrive? And, sometimes you feel like you just need to fit in. My last position I held in healthcare was training 27 physicians in North and South Carolina, managing them for concierge medicine. And, I had to really think about how I was going to manage and train people that owned their own practice, but were, also treating patients who were paying for a service.
So what did you do?
It was hard to navigate through because, I'm going in telling someone who owns his own practice, who I have to tell him how to treat people, how to treat his patients that are paying X amount of dollars for a yearly service. And it was hard. I mean, some people, it was easier with some than others, but you had these bullheaded people, whether it be female or male, that said, would tell me, this is my practice. I'll run it how I want to run it. And that's fine. But you have to understand also, that is what I told them. You have to understand that you have paying customers, patients coming in, paying you for a service. So there's a way that your office staff and you have to treat them, whether, it was give them your cell phone number so they could call you at 3 a.m. There's a reason you left, being owned by a medical center to come out and practice on your own and give someone this concierge service. It wasn't easy. It was hard to navigate through, harder with some than others. But I had, some people that I couldn't break through. And so I just let them be. I mean,
That's what you have to do. But that's like with anybody. If like, I mean, so I think that that's probably a great lesson. Some people you just have to let them be.
Well, some people aren't okay with change,
Yeah.
and don't understand that sometimes change is good.
I find that usually actually, if I have my own come to Jesus conversation with myself, I'm like, all right, yeah, it's time for a change. And it doesn't have to be, change is often perceived as like some sort of scary negative thing. But I've moved across the country with 3 kids. I didn't know anybody. And I was like, you know what? We're just going to try it. And if we don't like it, and there was no reason for me to leave Southern California. I had great friends. I had a great house. My infrastructure was there. Kids were in school, but I was like, you know what? I think I'm ready to do something different, and I need to show my children what it's like to be brave and what it's like to make big moves. Because in the real world, you move for school, you move for work, you move for family, you move for romance. And if they don't learn this skill now, they're never going to learn it. And they're going to just, be sucking their thumb in Calabasas and be like, there's no other world out there. Right. And so, change
can be good.
Yeah.
For a lot of things.
It's good.
It can be good.
It can be healthy.
But it's also okay to say no and have boundaries. Yeah. And not let people steal your energy, right? And some of these physicians that I dealt with, I felt like sometimes, I was beating a dead horse. Sometimes we all know you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
That is true.
So sometimes I just had to say, okay, it was always their way or the highway. And I had to just let that be and be okay with that.
I think and that's sometimes hard. It's like, because you see things in people or even in a professional, right. Had. And then they're squandering it, and watching somebody squander something is so frustrating.
The most disappointing thing in my career is to see what kind of growth potential they had and what they could have in their practice after being so frustrated with working for a hospital own system, and being on their own in their own beautiful practice. I helped them set up coffee bars. It was fabulous, but you just could not get them over that hump, so to speak, to where they could actually see the fruit from their labor of,
I think some people
leaving the hospital-owned world.
Yeah, and I think some people are just more reticent. They're not flexible.
Set in their ways.
They're just not flexible. And I think that
you have to be flexible.
Well, in anything that you're doing, you have to be flexible, because I think it's such an important skill to be like, I can roll with it. Being flexible really brings you opportunity when you're flexible.
It does.
It's just how it goes. It's like, if you're flexible and not a gigantic pain in the ass, and you'll have we have a little bit of a pain in the ass, but not a gigantic pain in the ass.
Every relationship, right? Whether it be a work relationship, whether it be a friendship, whether it be a marriage. You have to be flexible.
Yeah.
I'm married. I have to be very flexible. My husband and I are both type A personalities. We're both control freaks. We butt heads, but I think it's, when we butt heads, it's a good thing sometimes, because we actually, we learn from it.
Right.
When we butt heads.
And you can also, at this point, I think that you have enough of a healthy relationship where you're not afraid to
butt heads.
Yeah. Because I think that can be fearful too.
We have each other's back no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we do.
And you do.
Yeah.
I've seen it. You do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah. So, and it's the same thing with a friendship,
well, loyalty. And I think that I think that wanting the best for your friends and wanting the best for the people that you love, those are normal things. Like in my world, like I want my friends to succeed, and I want the people that I love to be happy and healthy and living their best life. And so if you see things that aren't going well for them, you might have to figure out the right way to phrase it, but you want people to be happy and successful and thriving and loving their life. And there'll be moments where it won't be so great, but those are just blips on the radar screen that are unfortunate situations of, maybe losing somebody or whatever. But for the most part, it's about cheerleading for the people that you love.
And it's okay, because we all have setbacks, right? We have setbacks. I've had plans to derail, fall apart. And in the moment, you just go with it.
Yeah. And I think that giving yourself, and this is, and I think we're probably you and I, for sure, we want things to be successful and we want things to happen. But I think that, we also have to give ourselves some grace too.
It can be crushing though, right?
I think so.
But it's okay to fail because you learn from failure.
I mean, I don't even know if it's failure anymore. I think now it's just figuring out, hey, that I have to do it a different way.
Well, I think failure's feedback.
Right.
Yeah, failure can be feedback. It can be good feedback.
Yeah.
It can teach you how to do something a different way.
Yeah, and that's it. And that's like on this path of being
forces
successful.
You to navigate a different way. Yeah.
And that's a good thing.
I've been divorced. You're divorced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was, you feel like a failure sometimes, but also it's like, okay,
how am I going to, be resilient?
Be resilient and have tenacity and overcome this.
And because everything is about, how we'll speak in football terms, just moving the ball down the field. You've got to get in the end zone. You got to keep getting in the end zone, and you've got, to use a baseball expression, also play to the very last out, because that is what ultimately, I think, for me and probably for you too, like at night, at the end of the day, I'm like, have I done everything that I need to be doing to get to where I want to be? And some days I'm like, nah, you ate really shitty food and you were pretty lazy today, Marnie, whatever. And you could have done more, but that's okay. Tomorrow you're going to get up and you're going to.
But that's the beauty of it.
And
we always have, we don't always have tomorrow. I mean, but we hope we have tomorrow. Mm-hmm. But there's always that chance to do better.
Yeah.
It's okay to, I beat myself up if I eat bad too. And, and I'm like, okay, I can start over.
Right.
Even if it's the same day, I can start over with the next meal and choose wisely.
But the good thing about coming to your house is that you don't have, I opened up your fridge to put my protein drink in there and I was like, there's nothing in here that I want.
Okay. So funny story. I'm going to call out my college bestie, Cassie. I'm going to call you out. She came to visit me in Winston-Salem and she literally came downstairs, opened my refrigerator and about started crying. Yeah. I think she really had tears in her eyes, and she looks at me and she says, seriously, she says, I can afford to take you to the grocery store and buy you some food if you can't afford food. And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, you only have water and eggs and milk in your refrigerator.
I think it's like almond milk. I don't even think it's real milk.
Yeah, I don't know if it was almond milk because this was so long ago. I don't think they had almond milk then, but I believe it was like creamer instead of milk. I think it was my coffee creamer. It was sugar-free for sure. And I said, no, you don't get it. This was in my competition days of competing in bodybuilding. And I said, if I had it in the house, I would eat it. And she said, oh. I said, yeah. I said, I, unlike you, don't have kids and it's just me here. I wasn't even married then. And I said, I don't have to have all the things in the house for kids or for another adult living in my house to eat. So yeah, but if I had the food. And so to your point, coming here to my house, my husband, I got him on board thinking the same thing. So we do have a little bit more than water and coffee creamer. Now we do not have almond milk, but we have a little bit more, but not too much. We can't have cake or candy or cookies in the house unless people bring it to us.
That's smart. My mom was the same way. I mean, growing up, I had microwave popcorn for dinner and sugar-free Jell-O if I was lucky.
Yeah.
If I was lucky.
And Cool Whip.
Well, of course, Cool Whip.
It's fat-free.
Yes. And, my mom was somebody very disciplined, and she would even say, she said to Leo, my youngest child, one day we were at their home and in the mountains, and Leo said, Nanny, I'm hungry. And she looked at him and she said, Leo, there's some days you just don't eat. And he was like, what? And she said, yeah, there's just some days you just don't eat. And he's like, but I'm 7. I have to eat every day. And so he called me and I said, well, get on your bike and you can ride to the store. It was all gated. And then now he understands that some of that was about her mental discipline and remembering it's good to fast and it's good to not eat and it's good to remember to stay hungry. And those are good, positive things that, we can do. Although,
well, it teaches you discipline,
it does.
Right? My mom would always say to me, honey, how can you be so disciplined? I grew up in a large Italian family. And it was all about food, and I would, after my dad passed away, I was single and my mom and my aunt lived together, and I would go have dinner with them every night. Sometimes I'd spend lunch. If I were working in Winston-Salem, I'd spend lunch and dinner with them. And I would bring a salad, or I would call them on the way home to their house from work and say, hey, will you boil me 8 hard-boiled eggs and put me some steamed broccoli on? And I sit down with them for my hard-boiled egg meal and steamed broccoli, to them having either breakfast for dinner consisting of pancakes and sausage and homemade biscuits, or spaghetti or lasagna for dinner, and looking at me saying, how can you be so disciplined? And it's just, you train yourself to be disciplined. And that's not just with eating habits. That's with anything, with exercise, with work. Yeah. My husband is so disciplined. He works so much, but he's disciplined about, being, working and having enough time for his family and enough time to work out and play tennis. But you have to be disciplined in every aspect of your life.
That is definitely true. And I think that those are some of the things that when you tune in and, we're going to make you love us, you're going to have no choice. So, tune in to Bench to Bold and come along with us and, let us know what you want to learn. Let us know what we need to do better. I want to know what I can be doing better. And I think Alisa probably like that too. And if there's things that you want to hear us talk about, or guests that we can bring on, or experts that we can reach out to, then let us know and follow us. Follow. I like the bloopers sometimes. I'm okay with the bloopers. Follow us at Bench to Bold. And I'm Marnie.
And I'm Alisa.
And we'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time. Bye.